What's going on, guys? Welcome back to We Want Picks. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckle Salamander, and finally, we are back to breaking down fights for UFC Vegas 67 in 2023. I am so excited to get this year started, and I hope that you are as well. Before we get started on this full fight card quick pick breakdown, make sure you go to WeWantPicks.com and become a premium member. It is only $10 a month, and I promise you it is the best value already in the community, and it is going to get even better as we progress into 2023. So become a premium member. It is only $10. You get DraftKings Optimizer, you get all our early picks, all our early bets, everything you could ever want for MMA access, betting, and breakdown. So go to WeWantPicks.com, become a premium member today. And without further ado, let's get into the breakdown for UFC Vegas 67. First fight of the night, we have Priscilla versus Sijara Eubanks, and I am as surprised as you guys probably are. Let me know in the comments below if you think that Priscilla should be a plus 175. Plus 175 dog to Sijara Eubanks. Listen, I understand that Eubanks has the wrestling, has the grappling, but even when she does that in fight, she still gets tired. And I saw some Instagram pictures from a couple months ago. She doesn't look as physically fit as she has in the past. I know usually she's 125, bounces between 125, 135. This is 135. She's going to be big. She's going to be strong. She might get a takedown or two, but Priscilla is one of those females that is going to fight for your money, and she goes with heat. She is a tank with that right hand. She just holds that thing out, just waits to throw it, and just comes straight down the pipe. If she gets taken down, if she gets controlled, you know, that is a Sijara Eubanks fight. But Sijara, 37 years old now, she kind of only has one path to victory, where Priscilla has the striking. Maybe she can even win a scramble on the ground. I'm going Priscilla in this matchup, and I actually kind of love her in this matchup. Confidence level 1 to 10. Give me about a 6 out of 10 for Priscilla in this matchup. She's just a far better striker in this match. Sijara kind of head down sometimes to get those takedowns. Boom, counter, check rights. Give me Priscilla in this matchup. Let's move on. Jimmy Flick and Charles Johnson, and I get it. I know why Charles Johnson's the favorite, right? He is the better overall fighter. And Jimmy Flick's kind of one of this one-trick pony type of people. Very, very good grappler. Very, very good jiu-jitsu off his back, on top. But Charles Johnson survived against Makayev. He knows what he's doing in those exchanges. The thing that worries me in this fight is kind of the same thing that worries me about that Zalgas fight, is he, for some reason, thinks he won all 3 rounds. That was a close fight. And he thinks in his mind that he kind of dominated that fight, which is not a good sign, because if this is another close fight, let's say this fight gets to the ground, there's some weird scrambles, Flick is able to maybe throw in a submission attempt but doesn't get it, and all of a sudden we're in the third round of a 1-1 fight and Charles thinks he's winning the fight again, he might not have the tenacity, the aggressiveness to come through in the third round and kind of steal that round. So yes, Charles Johnson is the better fighter of the two. He should win this fight. Minus 500, what it ballooned up to is crazy. Minus 300, whatever is crazy. And Jimmy Flick is so good at submissions. Even with the layoff, I would sprinkle a little bit of submission wins for Jimmy Flick. Not a little bit, or not a lot, just a little bit. But Charles Johnson is the play. He should win. Confidence level is probably a 7 out of 10. But if Flick comes in and does something weird and finds submission, it would not be surprising me as well. But Charles Johnson is the play in this matchup. Daniel versus Isaac, and this is grappler versus grappler. And I hope that it is grappler versus grappler, because I am on the side of Isaac in this matchup. But I'm telling you right now, I did some deep dives on the YouTube, on the Instagram. Isaac on the stand-up, little bit something to be desired. You know what I mean? I saw him throwing some hands, and it looks like he has never thrown a punch in his life. I think he's the better wrestler and definitely the more dangerous grappler. So if this gets on the ground, he should be able to win those positions. But Dan is the better overall fighter. He does have the wrestling, the grappling as well, but definitely can strike a lot better than Isaac. So if Daniel comes in, blitzes forward, throwing hands, Isaac could be in big, big trouble. But if Isaac's able to get an early takedown, turn this into a pure grappling match, I love Isaac in that fight. But I'm picking Isaac. I don't have any money on him yet. I probably won't unless it's some weird like submission, because I could see Daniel coming through and knocking this kid out. He's tough. He's tough. He can take a shot, but his striking is a little bit green, a little bit raw. So I'm going with Isaac I'm scared to death. Confidence level, honestly, after I saw that film, it's probably about a 3 or 4 out of 10, but I'm going with Isaac over Daniel in this matchup. Allan Nascimento versus Carlos, and this is quite simply, Allan is a problem. I think it's Allan. I think I said Allan, but I think it's Allan. Allan is a problem, man. He is a physical problem, and he basically is what Ryan Hall wishes he was. Just blast kicks. I mean, boom, 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 and he uses those kicks to keep the distance, and then when he gets inside the distance, he has very, very good takedowns. Underrated takedowns, I think. The trips, the inside-out trips, even the singles to get the fight to the ground, and once he's on the ground, he is so good and so physical. This is a big dude we're talking about, and Carlos is no slouch, right? Carlos is very tough, very well-rounded everywhere, well-versed on the ground as well, but Nascimento, I just think if Carlos is, an 8 out of 10, I think Nascimento's a 9.5 out of 10 when it comes to the grappling exchanges. He definitely has the power on the feet, can win on the feet, but this fight is going to be on the ground, and Nascimento should be able to win the scrambles. I mean, the way that he was controlling Jake Hadley is super impressive. I mean, he wasn't bad at all in the striking exchange, but on the ground to control somebody that good, that's so well versed, especially off his back. Jake Hadley is very, very good off his back, and Nascimento had no issues controlling position, scrambling, moving with him like a wave in the ocean. So I'm going Nascimento in this matchup. I love him in this matchup. Confidence level is probably about a 6, maybe even a 7 against Carlos, because I don't think Carlos is super dangerous. Nascimento has lost decisions in the past, but that's when he's out wrestled. I don't see Carlos out wrestling him. I like Nascimento in this matchup. Mateus versus Javid, and listen to me right now, guys. Listen to me very closely right now. Javid is the better overall fighter. He's the better fighter. He's going to be the more technical striker. He's probably the more technical grappler, jiu-jitsu, whatever it may be. But I'm telling you right now, this dude, Mateus, shoot the box kid. And if you guys don't know anything about the shoot the box, that's where Oliveira came from. That's where a lot of very, very tough, resilient, and very good striking Brazilians come from. Again, he's got the jiu-jitsu in his back pocket. I think his Instagram says world champion, whatever. So on the ground, I think it's kind of a wash. On the feet, I think Javid is the better technical fighter. But if you want the more dangerous fighter, even on the ground, but the more dangerous fighter on the feet, this dude, Mateus, is an absolute dog, man. And I know Javid's a better fighter, and he's 3-1, whatever it is. But I am siding with Mateus in this matchup because I think on the ground he's more dangerous and on the feet is more dangerous. Javid could easily come in, kickbox, but the way Javid holds his hands low, that's not a good combination against these Muay Thai shoot-the-box guys that just push forward, and throw heat. This is definitely not like a high-confidence play. I don't have any money on Mateus yet, but I will sprinkle something. Become a premium member to find out what that is. WeWantPicks.com, only $10 a month. But I'm going with Mateus in this, man. I just love the dog aspect in him. Javid's come in to the UFC 2 straight decisions against people that he probably should not be going to decisions with if you are that top tier guy. Can he beat Mateus? Absolutely. He's a better overall fighter. But I'm going with Mateus with the dog in him, and we'll see what kind of bet I play. Confidence level, it's probably about a 3 out of 10. Not super confident, but I think he has the power and dangerous abilities to win this fight. Now we have another Mateus versus Nick Fiore. Guys, this dude, Nick, I understand. He's a Renzo Gracie black belt, so if it goes to the ground, he might be able to survive, yada, 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 but he's 6-0. And 2 of his fights are versus dude from the Northeast at 16-100. I think the last dude that Nick fought was like 12-16 or something like that. You want to talk about a jump in competition versus Rebecki. Holy cow, Rebecki throws hands, throws heat, and once he gets you on the ground, he is very, very good at controlling. So yes, is there an outside chance Nick comes in with this black belt and finds something weird? Absolutely, but this is a monster step up in competition in a big moment for this kid, and he is a big dog for a reason. I'll be pulling for him. Those Renzo Gracie guys. He's not the Renzo Gracie Philly, but I like those Renzo Gracie guys. Maybe he finds something on the ground, but this dude, Rebecki, should have no problems against Nick in this matchup. Confidence level, I put about 8.5 out of 10, maybe even a 9 out of 10. Let's move on. Abdul, Razak, Alhassan versus Claudio, and this is fireworks, man. I mean, everyone that knows this fight, has broken down this fight, knows that this is absolute fireworks. I think the under 1.5 is like a minus 270 or something like that, and it's probably safe money, honestly, because these guys want to knock somebody out with every single punch they throw. The difference is Claudio is very, very loopy. I mean, he's one of those guys that he will cock back his right hand from, I mean, way back here and not come down the pipe, right? He's not coming down the pipe with it. He's coming like this, I mean, winging this thing. And then he'll come with the left winging it. Where Abdul, yes, he throws hard, but he's a little bit tighter with his shots, in my opinion. So, can Claudio knock out Abdul? Absolutely. Can Abdul knock out Claudio? Absolutely. I like the more technical ability and the back pocket judo that he never uses in Abdul in this fight. So it's a 50-50 fight for a reason. Flip a coin, pick your side. If you want to play a knockout, I get it. I'm choosing Abdul in this matchup because of the judo, because of the a little bit more tighter shots with just as much power. And Claudio's a tall guy that kind of holds his chin up, right? When he blitzes in, he's a tall guy and kind of holds his chin up in the air as he's coming in. I like Abdul to find that chin, the timing on it. It's a little bit faster in the pocket. I'm going with Abdul. Confidence level, again, I mean, it's like a 2, it's like a 3. It's a 50-50 fight. Both these guys want to knock each other out, but I'm going with Abdul in this matchup. Umar versus Hani Barcelos, and I'm telling you right now, yes, Umar is the better fighter, right? I mean, he's a minus 700 favorite. Those odds are crazy. Hani Barcelos, I know a lot of people are looking at that Victor Henry fight. They're saying, the guy that lost to Victor Henry, there's no way he's beating Umar. Let me tell you right now, one of the best, probably the best takedown defense in 135 might belong to Barcelos. And that doesn't mean that Umar can't take him down. And Umar probably doesn't need to take him down to win this fight, right? He's a very good kickboxer. He's got great kicks. But Hani's a guy that pushes forward. And if Umar can't get those takedowns, especially early, you might see, I don't want to say panic, but you might see a little bit of sense of urgency come out of Umar. And with that sense of urgency comes mistakes, right? If Umar can fight his fight, blast those kicks, boom, boom, get a couple takedowns, he's fine, right? But if all of a sudden Barcelos starts stuffing some takedowns, pushing forward, Umar's on his back foot, now those takedowns aren't quite as there as they are in the open mat that he loves. You know, this fight could turn very, very interesting because I don't know if it's a 50-50 fight on the feet and just the striking. It might be Umar like 60-40 just because he is so good at keeping range with the feet. But Barcelos is no joke, man. And there's no way I'm laying minus 700 money on Umar. And I'm not putting him in parlays either because Barcelos is one of those guys. He's been around. He's fought the dudes. And his takedown defense is incredible. And if Umar cannot get the takedowns, this fight is very, 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 very close. So I'm picking Umar. He is the overall better fighter. I get it, but my confidence level on this is maybe like a 5.5, something like that. It's definitely not the 9 or 10 that the odds are saying, right? So I'm going with Umar in this matchup, but I'm saying be careful with your money, with the parlays. He should be safe. Barcelos is no joke, but I'm going with Umar in this matchup. Ketlen versus my girl Rocky, and I'll say it right now. Ketlen's 13-2. Let's dig into that a little bit. 3 of those wins are split decisions. So you flip those, one judge on each side, you flip those, now all of a sudden she's 10-5. And 2 of those have come in her last 6 fights. I think that if you flip the split decisions in her last few fights, I think she's 2-4. In her last 6 fights. I think the math adds up on that. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I think she's 2-4 for last. And what we saw in the last fight was her being held against the cage over and over and over by Holly Holm. Did she? I mean, some people, the decision, some people say she won, some people do. Rocky loves that shit. I mean, Rocky absolutely loves that clinch, that Muay Thai clinch, just holding people against the cage. And what we saw in the Aspen Ladd fight was not only does she love the cage control, the clinch control, but her striking looked good, man. And I understand it's Aspen Ladd, and Ketlen's much different than Aspen Ladd, but the way she was slipping shots, throwing combos, she looked very, very, very sharp. And her experience level is off the charts. So don't get caught up in the records. And I'm glad that the odds odds reflect that Rocky is a much better fighter than her record. I mean, if normally you see a 13-2, versus a 14-8, you're like, oh man, I mean, this is a lopsided fight. Rocky is very, very good. The only issue is if Ketlen can get her flat on her back, right? If Ketlen can get one of those stupid wizard kicks, takedowns, and Rocky is flat on her back, can she get back to her feet? Absolutely, but she will lose rounds with those takedowns, meaning Ketlen will win rounds with those takedowns. But I think Rocky's going to be very, very good in this matchup. Clinch positions, control, but at range, I think she's very, very underrated now. Looks like she's sharpening some stuff up. So, long-winded story. I'm going with Rocky in this matchup. Do I love it? I think I kind of do. I think it's like a 5.5, like a 6, something like that. I think Ketlen's a little bit overrated. She's not like a super one-punch power type girl. Isn't super dominant on the ground. She's just kind of big. She's physical. She likes to bully girls. But you're not going to bully my girl Rocky, I'll tell you that. So give me Rocky in this matchup. Soriano versus Kopylov, and I love my dude Soriano. Let me preface this by saying I love my dude Soriano. If you guys have been with this channel, if you guys are new, make sure you like the video, by the way. Subscribe if you are new, but you will know I love my Hawaiians, man. There is hardly anybody tougher in the world than a Hawaiian, and Soriano lives up to that resume. I mean, he is tough as shit, and it hits like an absolute truck. Has wrestling as well. For some reason, his defensive wrestling is awful, terrible, but he was a college wrestler and his offensive. If I knew, right, this is the breakdown. If I knew and I could trust 100% that Soriano was going to come in and offensive wrestle, just wrestle, I would pick Soriano. Because Kopylov has very good takedown defense, but once you get him down, it's hard to, he kind of struggles at time to get back to his feet. And Soriano should be able to be big enough and control positions. Unfortunately, Soriano doesn't really like wrestling. He'll throw in a takedown or two, right? I mean, he kind of likes to mix in a little bit, but he wants to knock people out. And I think that this is going to be a kickboxing match. And Kopylov, the big, tall dude, is very, very good kickboxer. He also has wrestling that he never use as well, right? So maybe he comes in, knows that Soriano can't defensive wrestle, shoot some takedowns of his own. But if this is a kickboxing match, which I think it is, yes, Soriano will have the power advantage, but Kopylov is very good at keeping range and just throwing that jab, boom, 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 and breaking people down. So I'm going Kopylov in this matchup. I don't absolutely love it because I do like Soriano, and if I knew that he was going to wrestle, he can win this fight with his wrestling. But, I think this is going to be a kickboxing match, and I'm going to pick the better overall kickboxer and Kopylov versus the power of Soriano. Am I going to bet Kopylov? Probably not. This might be like, I don't know. Become a premium member. We'll see what we come up with. But Kopylov is the play in this. Confidence level, honestly, it's probably only about like a 3, maybe a 4, I guess. Because Soriano does have power. He has fight-changing power and has wrestling. Maybe he finds that he wants to start using. So I'm on Kopylov. Don't love it. Should be a fun fight. Both these guys are tough as hell. 50K Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson. And yes, I'm biased. Of course I'm biased. I cannot stand this dude, Damon Jackson, for knocking out my boy Pat Sabatini. I thought that Pat Sabatini was going to steamroll him in that fight. I still think that Pat Sabatini, if it was a pure grappling match, would have beat Damon Jackson. But let me say this. Dan Ige is the better overall fighter, right? I think he's the better overall fighter. But it's hard to ignore that this run that Damon Jackson is on. It's hard to ignore. And even when this is almost like the Sijara Eubanks. Even when Damon Jackson is controlling positions, he still gets tired. That his last fight versus Dan, or I guess the Pat Sabatini was the last fight, but the 2 fights ago against Dan, he basically was just backpacking Dan for 2 rounds. Wasn't really trying to advance positions, was just kind of body triangle on his back, and he still was gassing in the 3rd round. And Dan Ige is tough as shit, but trajectories matter. What you've done for me lately does matter. So why I think Dan Ige is the better overall fighter and definitely the better striker. He's not super dangerous, and Damon is very good with his striking. It's unorthodox, but it's kind of head down, blitz in, which enables him to get those sneaky takedowns, right? You're worried about these big shots because he does have power. You're worried about these big shots. All of a sudden, he's on your leg. He's taking you down, and he's called the leech for a reason. He has very, very good control on the ground. So, I don't know if there's going to be a finish in this fight. Dan Ige's tough. Damon also is a dog. Both these guys are absolute dogs. It should be a fun fight, but I think trajectories matter. I love Dan Ige. I can't stand Damon Jackson for what he did to Pat Sabatini, but I'm going to go with Damon Jackson in this, man. You know, momentum does matter. He seems like he's on a nice little course here, and we'll see where he ends up and see if he finally loses somebody. But, you know, I'm going with Damon Jackson. I'll probably be rooting for Dan Ige. I might sprinkle some money on Dan Ige decision, something like that. But, you know, I'm going with Damon Jackson. Confidence level in this, you know, I only put about maybe like a 4. I don't love him in this matchup, but I'm going with Damon Jackson. Main event time, Gastelum versus Imavov, and this should be a fun fight. I mean, Gastelum is tough as hell. He does some wild stuff. You know, he's a little unorthodox at times, the way he bounces around, but Imavov is the real deal, man. I mean, he is the absolute real deal. Does he have cardio issues? Maybe. You know, I mean, this is his first 5-round fight, so we'll see how his cardio holds up, but he might not even need it, man. This dude is so precise in his striking, dangerous on the ground as well. If I knew that Gastelum, kind of the Soriano situation, if I knew that Gastelum was going to come in and wrestle, the way that Phil Hawes did to Imavov, even though Gastelum's not nearly the wrestler that Phil Hawes is, or nearly as physically strong as Phil Hawes, but if I knew that he was at least going to try to wrestle, and wear down Imavov, I might lean a little bit more on Gastelum. I wouldn't pick him, but I'd feel a little bit better if you wanted to play that Gastelum side. But man, if Gastelum if he wanted to really dedicate himself to this sport after some losses, where he's lost like 4 of his last 5, whatever it is, he would go down to 170, right? And I think Angelo's mentioned this as well. If he really wanted to become a fighter, because he's very, very talented, very talented. If he really was dedicated, he'd be at 170, man. I mean, he would be at 170. He could be a top 10 guy at 170, but he's a 185er, hasn't fought in a year. He's coming through. He knows what he wants to do. He wants to cash that check. Start 223 off right. Imavov is such a good striker, man. Such a precise counter striker and an aggressive striker. Good on the ground. I'm Imavov all the way in this matchup, and I think you should be too. Confidence level, it's probably about a 7 out of 10. I'll probably sprinkle something on him. I already have a little bit on this fight. Become a premium member, like I said, to find out what that is. But this has been the Quick Pick Full Card Breakdown for UFC Vegas 67. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckle Salad. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you are new, and look out for all of our content that we put out every day of every single week. There is nobody better than We Want Picks, and we're going to prove it to you in 2023. Thank you guys so much for watching. All your support in 2022. Get ready for 2023. My name is Jacob. I am out. Peace.